John Wick, Chapter 4. A masterpiece of audio-visual art or a bad movie? This movie has been in the box office for a relatively long time, and in the official box office, by the way. For a long time, we dragged our feet to watch it, probably subconsciously, avoiding disappointment because of the wave of criticism from the audience and film critics. But I watched it nonetheless. And I did it in a good theater, expecting the worst, but with hope for the best, without any stereotypes or prejudices concerning the new part of the franchise, with a sincere desire to like this movie, and most importantly, with a great mood. At the end of the film, we are left with very, very mixed emotions. But first things first. First, by tradition, a few dry facts. Plot. Leaving behind mountains of corpses, John Wick continues to hide from all kinds of assassins, and now the hunt for him is headed by a young and ambitious board member named Marquis. The two managers of the Continental hotels in New York and Osaka, who decided to help the wayward assassin out of an old friendship, have already paid a heavy price for it. But suddenly John discovers a way out of this seemingly hopeless situation. Budget, $90 million. Box office, $402 million. Rating, IMDb, 8.2, not bad. So, is John Wick Chapter 4 inches good or not? Let's start with the minuses with the hope of ending on a positive at the end of the video. If you read the plot description of this part and compare it with the previous two, you may be surprised, because in fact, conceptually nothing changes. Moreover, if the second part kept interest and novelty, because we were only introduced to the world of assassins, and the third one showed us at least the coolest scale of the story, then the fourth one becomes secondary and superfluous on their background. If you also keep in mind that the creators originally planned to make a trilogy rather than a quadrilogy, everything becomes clear. The aim of the fourth part is only to unreasonably drag out the story, which should have ended on the first film, in order to earn more money. In this part, they introduce a new villain, completely undisclosed, by the way, about whom for some reason nothing was known before. His motives are poorly revealed, and he himself acts thoughtlessly. The fourth part also introduces a completely unnecessary nobody, an African-American looking hitman with a dog, who is in this film, relies for three reasons. It's necessary to stretch the timeline. It is necessary to create a connection with the first part thanks to the dog. It is important to show the actor of the third race, because the central roles of the film would only be white and Asian-looking people. Such, unfortunately, is modern Hollywood. We remember that we assess cinema exclusively and primarily as a commercial product beyond morality, racism, which we certainly condemn, and other social norms and phenomena. This part also introduces two of John Wick's friends, who, it turns out, were his best friends from Osaka, Japan, but for some reason we have not heard anything about them before. Okay, perhaps that can be forgiven. The point of the plot boils down to finding a way to kill a representative of the Board of Clans in a duel in order to gain his freedom. Not fresh, of course, but good, maybe even interesting. But it's all very crookedly, deliberately complicated for timing. You have to be a member of the clan to make the challenge, so John asks his Belarusian clan to take him back. They, in turn, demand that he kill some other villain from Germany as revenge. Warning: this stretches the timeline by about 40 minutes. We're still understating it. Why, one might ask, stretch the plot that way? All in all, as far as the plot is concerned, the film really sags. It makes no sense, and is absolutely, unfortunately, secondary. Screenplay. It suffers, we believe, in two key points: dialogue, dramaturgy. Again, pay attention. In nearly 3 hours of timing, John uttered 380 words in 103 lines, many of which consisted of just one word. John Wick's longest dialogue in the film consists of just one sentence. "You and I left the good life behind a long time ago, my friend." We certainly understand that this is primarily an action movie in which words are the last thing that matters, but why is it so bad? To be fair, one dialogue really struck a chord when John and his friend were sitting in church before the duel and talking about life after death. When watching this, pay attention to it. It's very heartfelt. John prays for a reunion with his wife, but says he doesn't believe it but hopes he's wrong. Now to the dramaturgy, for this is one of the central problems of the film. The hero at the beginning of the journey and at the end is the same person, but his motives are not even clear here. The search for freedom is unfortunately dragged too far behind his ears. In the first part, John Wick had a clear motivation. His wife is dead, and the dog she gave John was killed by thugs. Strength, we think, is in simplicity, and John Wick was a very cool example of solid drama. He was on his way to revenge, and he got his revenge. Here, however, it is a little different, for he goes for freedom, but does not achieve it. For he himself says in the movie that he will not get it as long as he or all the killers are alive. Timeline. It could have been disclosed under the part about the plot, but it's such a big problem that I decided to make it a separate item. The film has 2 hours and 49 minutes of running time. They cut another 55 minutes. In comparison, Interstellar has exactly the same running time. But Interstellar is a drama about a father and his daughter, which also had to show three fucking planets and a black hole. And here, why such a timeline? It's not quite clear, unfortunately. At first, you will be bribed by good fight scenes, all the dynamics in general. But then you will literally get bored, look at your watch, phone, get tired of it all. The fights are good, but believe me, it didn't bribe even us. I was going for a dumb action movie hoping to enjoy the fights and the action. You will get tired and bored. It's inevitable. At the end of the movie, there is a scene where the hero climbs the steps to the temple, killing hundreds of mobs. When he first approaches the steps, the viewer thinks, "Oh man, again?" But the viewer endures, hoping it will all be over soon. Yup. John Wick goes up to the end, and then he gets dropped to the very beginning, and starts killing everyone all over again. And that, believe me, is really not funny. Not one bit. It's one thing to enjoy a movie, but it's another thing to brazenly parasitize your desire for action by shutting down plot problems. Keanu Reeves is 58 years old, so he himself already looks, with all due respect to him, ridiculous. The fights with him are unfortunately not the same anymore. Now for the pros. Among them are 2 pluses that can really kill almost 3 hours of your life, getting something really unforgettable in return. Soundtracks, visuals. Soundtracks. The compositions in the film are one of the great strengths of this movie. They all combine with the special visuals to create an atmosphere of movement. You will literally feel like you are in the role of a hitman who, along with John, is chopping up mobs to some very, very classy and driving songs. We, subjectively, haven't seen a more stylish film, except for Denis Villeneuve's 2017 Blade Runner. There is such masterful work with light here that you will literally be in a state of ecstasy from what you see. The viewer may even get the feeling that he came to see not an action movie, but a fashion show, in a good sense. The action takes place in Osaka, Japan, Berlin, New York, and Paris. In Osaka, we are shown a neon hotel in a super modern style with hints of anime and Japanese culture in general. Red, blue, orange, purple, and green in the night create such a visual that you literally want to stop what is happening to enjoy what you are seeing. Well done. And what a cool visual in Berlin. There, John has to go into a bar where hundreds of people are dancing to kill the in-between villain. In this bar, club, everything is glass, and there are artificial waterfalls everywhere. When John falls into the water and gets all wet and fights mobs under the waterfall with great and driving soundtracks, it's breathtaking. It's something, but we notice something else. If we remember the previous parts, we were shown the New York at night, just like here. But this part stands out. If in those the lights of New York were on, here they aren't. In the 4th part, we are shown a city without lights at night, as if the lights have gone out, the lights of a once interesting and promising franchise. Recommendations. Even if you're preparing for a silly action movie and going for action, as I did, you'll unfortunately still be bored because of the enormous timing. But for the scenes in Osaka and Berlin you can watch this movie, you won't regret it.